Okay, left-hand slurs. Left-hand slurs are a way of making two consecutive notes sound more fluid. Normally, when we play two notes in a row, it'll sound like this. So I'm plucking both notes with my right hand. But if I pluck the first note and then slur the second note, it's a more fluid sound. You don't get two plucks for each note. You get a pluck on the first note, and then the second note kind of sounds as though it's blending into the first note. Now, the way we do this is if I'm doing an upward slur, I'm going to start with a G, an open string note, and then I'm going to slurs to a second fret note with my second finger. And what I do is I pluck the note and then hammer down with the second finger. And when I say hammer down, I mean literally you have to kind of bang that finger down. You don't have to do it really hard. I mean, you don't have to hit it like a sledgehammer, but you should have a little bit of force there. If you just put your finger on the string, it doesn't really work very well. So you do have to have a little bit of momentum there. Your finger will actually be above the string a bit so that you got some room to hammer it down. So pluck, hammer, pluck, hammer, pluck, hammer. That's an upward slur. Now, if I wanted to do a downward slur, I'd start with my finger on the string. I've got it on A, and then I'm going to slur to a G. So pluck, and then I pull the left-hand finger a little bit sideways so that it will pluck the string as it's coming off. So don't do this. Don't play the note and then just lift your finger straight up, because you won't hear the second note very well. I can hear it, but it's not very well articulated. So I literally kind of dig in a little bit with the finger and then pull it a bit sideways so you can feel your finger plucking the string as it pulls off. You got to be careful that you don't accidentally bump into the second string when you're doing this. See, you could hear two notes there because my finger accidentally plucked the second string. So it has to kind of knuckle under a little bit as you pull it off so it'll clear the adjacent string. And also, be careful that you don't kind of snap the string with an ugly sound like... You don't want that kind of sound. And also, make sure that when you're pulling your finger off the string, don't accidentally pull it sideways, because that'll pull it out of tune. You got to make sure that you're not pulling the string sideways like that. You're just like so. You can do this with any finger on any string. Here are upward slurs on the first string. And I can also do downward slurs on the first string. And again, you have to be careful on the pull-offs that you're not getting ugly sound. Try to make sure that you're getting a good sound when you pull off the left-hand finger. So your left hand now has to be as careful with plucking the string as your right hand does so that you're getting a good sound. You can also do slurs with not just open strings, but you could do it with two different fingers. Let's say that I want to slur an F, first finger F, to say G. So I'm going to keep my first finger down, and then my third finger will hammer on to the G. Notice that the first finger never moves. If you time it right, you can let go of the first finger. Like especially if I wanted to do a vibrato on that second note. But I got to make sure that this finger doesn't come off until this finger hits. And I can do a descending slur with 2 different fingers. Now I'm going to do a slur from a G to an F. So notice that the first finger never moves at all. You have both fingers set up when you're going to do a downward slur, and then you just move the third finger, and the first finger stays right where it is. Again, be careful that you don't get an ugly sound with that. Definitely don't just lift it up. That sounds very weak. So it has to come sideways. It has to pluck the string. You can do that with any combination of fingers. And guitarists will actually practice just about any combination of fingers that they can think of. They might do. And lastly, you can combine the upward slur and the downward slur so that you might get something like this. I'm going to do this very slowly at first. I'm going to do an E to an F sharp and then right back to an E. So I pluck, bang the finger down for the F sharp, and then pull it sideways for the final E. And if I do that faster, or I could do that backwards. I could do it starting with the F sharp, pull it off for the E, and then hammer it back down for the F sharp. That was ugly. That sounded better. And again, I can do those with different fingers. I'm going to do my first finger to my third finger back to my first. Or I could do it the other way around. And you can do all kinds of different slurs. You could do something like, or. So any combination that you want to do, you can do. Start with just doing one finger at a time. Then do the pull-offs. Then try any combination of fingers that you can think of. Downward slurs. And then combination of slurs. And make sure you do them on all the strings because every string feels different. So you'll sometimes see guitarists doing. So knock yourself out and work on those slurs.